Hey, what's going on, all you Plotaholics fans? I'm Bryan Tan, and this is another edition of Tan Talks. Joining me yet again, Squirrely Mat from the Produce Stand podcast. How are you now, Matt?
Good, and you?
Not so bad.
Not so bad. Good, buddy. Glad to be back, my friend.
We are talking Moon Knight. This is kind of a new IP for the both of us, so we're kind of diving into this together.
But I love that about this, and yeah, fully admit neither of us are familiar with the Moon Knight character, the situations around it, but that's okay. And that's what I love. And I was thinking about that even coming in here, how impressed I am and excited I am with the MCU as a whole and where it started, where it's come. I'm getting sort of like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibe. And what I mean by that is when they launched and promoted that, I had no idea who they were either. And that turned out to be one of my favorite flicks from the whole series. And so we're getting these new characters, and Marvel's done such a fantastic job of carrying these stories, and now they're layering them in and out of TV series, back to the films. Like it is the single biggest entity of production I've ever experienced, and I don't love every bit of it, but I'm so impressed by the MCU as a whole. So this one I was excited for, and I love that we're bringing fresh perspective on something that we don't have a lot of previous context to argue against, right?
Yeah, you're right. I had no clue who the Guardians of the Galaxy were either.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest, soon-to-be trilogies of the MCU.
Yeah.
To the point now where they're so important to the mythos. Thank you, Star-Lord, for allowing the snap, by the way. I refuse to refer to it as the blip. It's the snap for me.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I knew about Moon Knight was from playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Okay.
That was it. And I didn't know. I seriously thought that this was just the MCU's version of Batman and Marvel's version of Batman, but he wore white. That's really all I thought. And then it's like, wow, Batman's so badass that Marvel has to have a few versions of him, because you got the Punisher, but he kills. And then you got Moon Knight, but come to find out, no, Moon Knight is totally different than Batman, because Moon Knight is rugged as hell, dude.
Yeah, and I read that same thing about them doing the comparison, and after even watching one episode, I'm like, I don't see it at all. Like, again, I don't know enough yet to really comment, but thinking of where Batman came from versus what we're seeing, they're not the same. Maybe not just the name Knight, the Dark Knight. I don't know.
Right.
I think we're reading too deep into just a name, because the characters seem very different.
Yeah. Well, so let's start to look at it a little bit now. I'm just going by what we've watched.
Yep.
I have not researched the character at all.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely seeing there's a split personality thing going on here, because you have the Steven version, who's a British shopkeep.
Gift shop.
Keeper
of the gift shop.
Keeper of the gift shop. There you go. And then you've got Mark Spector.
Yeah.
But then you've got this other voice that's like in charge almost.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, and I immediately saw this, and I did a little bit of research just to help me understand a couple things, but this is another attempt with Marvel and superhero world to dive into mental health issues as well, is what I saw it as. Like there's this whole take on Mark and Steven having was it dissociative identity disorder, right? So real split personality. And watching this, so yeah, it's such a right out of the gate when they kind of open up, forget the opening scene, which is really kind of creepy in itself, but we see him and he wakes up and he's tied to the bed and the sand around it. I'm like, all right, something's going on here. And as soon as he gets up and pulls the tape off the door, I'm like, all right, he's keeping himself in. But why? What's happening? I was fully intrigued right from that moment. And as they get into it, and there's those little moments along the way where he's getting glimpses of his other self, but really confused by it. That's terrifying.
It really is. There's a lot of things that sort of came out to me. Like, for one, he's on the phone with his mom and he's leaving these long voicemails. But it's like, I swear, it feels like he's talking into a void.
Yes. Oh, my wife and I watched it together. And we both said that we're like, mom's not real, or mom's dead, or something like
there's something
mom's not
right.
there. Yeah, there's a disconnect there. Like I also keep asking, who is the original personality, right?
Yes.
There's always
don't you always ask that? You always ask that. Who's had the trauma that this has created?
Yeah, I can't, and again, it's not even comparable, and I would never try to put my feet fully into someone's shoes, you know, because there are people who experience these kind of, you know, minus the super abilities, but experience these kind of disassociation, and it's terrifying to me, because I remember from my younger years, as an example, I grew up as a teenager. I was diagnosed with epilepsy.
Okay.
I haven't experienced anything of this in my adult life, but as a younger child, and I remember there was moments when I would have an incident, and I'd be in one spot, and all of a sudden I'd wake up, and I'm like lying in a bed in the hospital.
Wow.
And the confusion in just that minor incident between the half hour it happened, the half hour I'm there, it's a mind fuck in itself. So to think
gotta be jarring.
Now multiply that by what he's going through, where he wakes up and he's in the Swiss Alps, and he's like, what the fuck? Like,
how did I get here? What happened?
He pulls himself together pretty good considering the circumstances.
It did seem like he adjusted to that very well. So what that makes me wonder is, what else has he gone through to the point where he goes through this sand around the bed, tape on the door?
Yeah.
It's almost like he's so used to waking up in weird places that it's like, okay, I'm someplace strange. How did I get here?
100%. And that I wrote that right on my notes here. I said, what did he already know? And what tripped me out a bit, like, clearly something's happened. He's experienced these moments of disconnect. He's gone places. But the thing that threw me off, and I hope they get into this more as we get deeper into the series, is, you know, when he was hearing the voice and starting to see the illusions of himself, that seemed brand new.
Right.
But what happened before that was so scary to him that he had to do all these other things, right?
Right.
So there's a disconnect. I feel like those are the kind of things that go, okay, now I need to tie myself down. But like, there's a disconnect in that, to me, from a story perspective, but I hope they get more into it to show some backstory of how he came to where we are now.
Right. And then the loss of time where he misses his date, like, that had to have been so trippy and painful, because he just, I felt that pain on his face when
he ordered the steak.
When he orders the steak, and he's a vegan, and he makes that phone call, and she's just like pissed at him.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, that had to suck.
Absolutely.
But we're also getting this meek and mild guy who he's bullied and is just completely ignored and just disregarded.
Yeah.
So they do a really, really good job at making us sort of making Steven this sympathetic protagonist.
Yeah.
And then to see him fighting back, though, it doesn't even feel like it's him fighting back. So I really think that this is an amazing job done by the writers here.
Yeah.
Because when you look at these dual identity type of characters, you look at Spider-Man and Peter Parker, all the comic book films in general, I think this is the first time for me since Fight Club where the two characters are completely different.
Yeah. Well, and the other big thing, I mean, and all the people and everyone we ever talk about is the alter ego. But the alter ego, they're always well aware of each other, right? Because they're just like, I need to hide myself. Where in this case, it's like the ultimate alter ego, because even he doesn't know he exists. So that's the mind fuck. And to go back to that steak scene for a second, I want to call out Oscar Isaac, who's playing this lead role. This guy, he's so good. I recently watched Triple Frontier. I was going back. I watched Dune recently, which he's in. He is really good. And this one is really giving him the opportunity to shine, playing this split. And I swear to God, I had chills in that steak scene when you see the look in his face where he doesn't even know what to order. He doesn't care. He's so just lost
in his all the time.
Yeah, and you felt every bit of his pain in that moment with the realization that something is wrong. Can we shift talk for a second to to the production side of things? And this did to me a fantastic job of selling a story, and which I love and I have concerns. So the love about it was the pace of this episode. Starting off from the soundtrack, I thought they used music very well to set the tone. From the Alps scene, everything. when they're starting to display the early signs of his split personality, how they cut and they just don't show you anything,
Those
and
cuts are so
flash
quick.
forwards, and then you're just left just like him, just as confused, going, "Whoa, what just happened?" He's got a gun in his hand. He's driving backwards. What the fuck? And
these people are surrounding him, and they're just suddenly dead.
Yeah,
like I seriously went back a couple of times. What the? Did I just miss?
Did I close my eyes? Did I miss him? But the pacing of the episode was the cutting was so on point. The music sold the story. His reactions were phenomenal. It was hook, line, and sinker for me. But let me quickly talk to my concerns. Is now that at the end of the episode, when they've revealed the curtain, they pulled back the truth of what's going on. You kind of knew what was going on, but they revealed the truth of that final scene, and you see Moon Knight. Well, now what happens? Do they lose this same production method that they've used in episode 1, and do they change it now that we know who he is? Are we going to see both sides of the equation, or are they going to keep some of that a mystery? Because I loved how it worked. I liked the what if or what happened, letting my mind make up the story that filled in those blanks. Are we still going to get that, or do they now set a different tone where we're going to see the whole story?
I would be remiss if we did not discuss how great Ethan Hawke is. Is this man just not a treasure?
Oh my God. And when was the last time we've seen him? I feel like I haven't seen him in anything notable in a while.
I don't feel like I've seen him since the Purge, since the first Purge.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
I love how he got the cult leader thing down beautifully, didn't he? Like, he sounds so gentle. It's almost like he's a reluctant, sinister villain.
Well, he's the worst scariest kind of villain, because he doesn't see himself as no, most don't, but like he truly is like, I am doing a good thing here. I am trying to save the world through this power, whatever. I still don't fully understand what's happening, but he just truly believes what he's doing is in the greater good. And that's terrifying.
You're right. He truly, like, he really does not see himself as the villain.
And even taking it a step further, he doesn't see himself as almost anything. He is the vessel.
He is the vessel of balance.
So if you watch that first scene when he's doing his little scales of justice thing, or whatever you want to call it, and the woman comes up and she is sought as bad, and she dies. He looks genuinely distraught at that moment. When she falls, it almost looks like he's going to start to cry. Like he's very upset that she was found guilty and she had to die in the name of this situation. So that kind of showed his personality, that like he's just carrying out this task.
I'm just the messenger.
Right. Yeah.
And that makes him almost a sympathetic villain, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's just doing what he knows he must do. Man, these Egyptian gods don't mess around, do they?
Yeah. What I thought was one of the most powerful moments in the entire episode was the moment when he's in his apartment and starts to hear the voices, and then he runs to the elevator. And you remember the elevator starts closing, and he sees the entity or a deity coming at him, and then it's the old lady, and he's hovering in the corner. Okay.
Yes.
Right. And she, as soon as that door shuts, she is petrified as well. Like, what did I just get into an elevator with? Get me out. This man is unstable. He is off his rockers. And I live in Toronto, big city, anywhere. Everyone has experienced someone who is dealing with mental health. You probably pass them on the street, and they're doing something odd that you're like, what the hell's wrong with them? And everyone immediately says that person's crazy. But think about it. We had in that situation, we had the luxury of seeing both sides. He is experiencing something real to him. Right. And that's his reaction. He is not a threat to her. But from her perspective, she walked into an elevator with a man shaking and freaking out in the corner. And she's like, oh, this is my friend. I need in this house. I need in this. Like, she is getting out of there as quickly as she can, rather than, are you okay, sir? Right. Can I help you? The answer might be no, but that's the perspective that we saw in that scene. I thought it was so powerful, because we have all, at some point or another, probably come across a moment where we're thinking the same damn thing that old lady thought, but you have no idea what he was dealing with.
Right. And the great thing is that we are seeing and we are experiencing, as you already said, we're getting two perspectives. And it just because you're afraid of what you're seeing doesn't mean that the person that you're seeing isn't afraid either.
Yes, exactly.
She's trying to show that she's not a threat to him, while he's showing he's not a threat to her.
He's not even considering her really in the situation. She's just there in the moment while he's dealing with what he's dealing with.
Right. So they're both trying to show each other, I'm not a threat to you.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to separate from each other. So all in all, for those that don't know, we have a little system here for how we do things at the Plotaholics. And we're going to have bartender Smiley come in and tell you guys exactly how we do it.
The Plotaholics rating system for the movies is a pretty simple system. Basically, they rate movies based on how many shots it takes to get through them. So if you got a good movie and you get through it all the way sober, then it takes 0 shots to get through the movie. And then if you got a really bad movie, then it could take up to 5 shots to get through the whole thing. I think you can try to figure out the middle part yourself. So what can I get you?
All right, Matt, what's your rating for episode 1, season 1 of Moon Knight?
Yeah, sure. On the beer scale, right?
Shot, beer. You know you don't. I know you don't drink beer. You're a liquor guy.
I'm a both. I kind of dive in and
you do both.
I'm on a liquor phase right now.
Gotcha.
I've been living old fashions on the daily, but that's okay.
Gotcha.
So I'll do it for both.
On your do it for both.
On the liquor scale, I give it a 1. It's a 1. It only take me 1. I always like to have a drink, so it's always. I feel like 1 is going to be my highest rating. I know you go with a 0, but I'm always going to have 1. So it was fantastic. I thought they did such a fantastic. And I'll quickly go from the produce stand perspective. It was absolutely a fresh.
I love that. I love that you went there.
It was so good. I remember seeing some feedback before I hand over to you from a few folks I know talking about this, and the big word confusion came out. And it almost like it might have been a negative. I don't know if that was their intent, but to me, that was perfect. I was confused. What the hell is happening? But like I talked about it, the pacing of the episode, the delivery of Oscar Isaac on this one, the music, the tempo, the what's happening. I couldn't have put this together better for an intro episode. I've said I have some apprehensions on how it's going to go now that the curtain's pulled back, but I'm okay. I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. I'm excited to see where this goes. So yeah, it's a fresh one. It's a 1 beer kind of show. This was fantastic.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you. This is a hard fresh. And I'll tell you the truth. I'm going to give it a 1-shot rating as well, mainly because the confusion angle definitely did hit me, and there were a couple of spots that were a little bit too on the nose, a little bit too heavy-handed. Granted, we all have bosses that are dicks to us, and we've all had bosses that are dicks, but his boss just felt a little too
over the top,
disrespectful.
I'll give you that one.
Maybe that's just the way it is in the UK, but even the security guard whose job it is, like, he felt a
little phony for sure.
Yeah, I've worked security. That's too phony. I get why they're doing it.
Yep.
Because you have to set the stage, and I do appreciate it. Yep. It's just I have these weird spots where I draw a line, and that's where it is. So
hey, you're entitled to that, absolutely. I mean, I like to my rating. I feel like those minor moments weren't enough to derail the rest. I loved how they sold this story,
absolutely.
But
and hey,
over here,
listen. Who would have thought that a cupcake delivery van could be used as a getaway
Oh
vehicle?
my God, when he smashes that cupcake in the guy's face, I remember, oh my God, he hit him with a cupcake.
How are you you're fighting for your life and the only weapon you're going to use is a cupcake? Okay, my dude. Hey, you do you. I can't wait to see more. Join us every week where, Squirrely Mat and I are going to be giving you our perspectives on Moon Knight. Make sure you check out the Produce Stand podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on the Twitter, it's at Produce Stand Pod.
All the socials the same. Al made it very easy. It's at Produce Stand Pod. April 7th, a big group of us, Bryan included, are going live to do a table read of episode 1, season 1, the pilot episode of Letterkenny. We've all assigned ourselves out some roles. And we did a little rehearsal last week, and my God, did I laugh. So this is going to be a banger, and I encourage everyone to come out and check it out.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we'll see you guys next week for episode 2 of Moon Knight.